Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And this is News and Week in Review. We're diving into a bunch of news pieces, the usual Week in Review, games I played, what the videos were this past week, all the usual stuff, timestamps, and links to everything down below. It feels good to be back in my studio. I've been gone the past 4 days, which means I haven't filmed a single video. It's terrifying. It's terrifying when I don't film videos because time rapidly catches up. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I have videos in the backlog, but every day that goes by where I don't film is like just breathe. I like filming. I really do. I enjoy the process. And don't worry, by the way, even though this is a prototype, I do have a coaster and all that. But let's go ahead and dive into this. Starting off with Gears of War, the card game, confirms release date. This is something that has been already announced to a degree as far as the Steamforged game, Gears of War, the card game. And this is not the newest news, but I realized I hadn't covered this, and this is something that's out. So Gears of War card game, you could go ahead and pre-order now. They have links to pre-order it, all that. I don't think it's in the wild yet. It's basically going to be a kind of LCG kind of standard. I don't think they could officially be an LCG living card game, but they are going to have that kind of format to it. That's going to be Gears of War, the card game from Steamforged Games, just kind of announcing your release date. You can go ahead and pre-order all that stuff. From there we have, moving on, we have Flat Out Games announcing Cascadia expansion Landmarks. I love Cascadia. I am incredibly excited about this news. I don't know what the Landmark expansion is going to really do. It had some modules and stuff like that. As there's going to be new wildlife scoring cards and habitat tiles that add more variance to the games of Cascadia. I love Cascadia. It's my favorite game from Flat Out Games. I'm happy to see more content coming from that game. We have over here Into the GodsGrave from Lucky Duck Games. Into the GodsGrave is going to be the newest card-driven cooperative adventure game. It's a digital hybrid board game, so it's going to be similar to Divinus. And when I say similar, I mean in the sense that it's a digital hybrid board game. Past that, the general similarities, don't know more don't know enough about what this one's going to play out as, but it's one I'm going to be covering. It's a card-driven cooperative adventure game and a digital hybrid from Lucky Duck Games. All that is already enough to have me interested, but then we also have Castellans of Valeria. This is going to be the newest game in the Valeria universe. I saw a few people teasing like they had copies. They're covering this prototype over here. Designed by, actually, who is it designed by? It's designed by I can't pronounce the name, but I know him. Yeah, I don't want to butcher his name. I apologize. But yeah, it looks interesting, looks good, typical Valeria stuff. I am always interested in anything Valeria. Most of them have not actually lasted for me past the original card Kingdoms of Valeria, which is still my go-to. But I am always happy to try this stuff because it's always good. Whether I keep it or not, they're always enjoyable and fun to play through. We have over here Faeries and Magical Creatures. This is Forbidden Games' next game, kind of taking the same idea, I should say the same idea. It's the same artist as Lizard Wizard, or at least the same artist for most stuff or whatnot. But they're making a game called Faeries Magical Creatures, which I don't know how the game's going to play, but I'm intrigued by it because I'm interested in anything from Forbidden Games. We have Aeon Trespass Odyssey second printing. They announced that they are having their May 16th, I want to say, May 16th. I think May 16th, the release date for the reprint of Aeon's Trespass Odyssey. If you've been watching review content, I know Dice Tower put out a bunch of opinions and reviews, and their overall opinion is interesting. So I've played both Aeon Trespass Odyssey, prototype form only, as well as, what's the new one? Kingdoms Forlorn, I want to say. Kingdoms Forlorn. Both of them Into the Unknown. And my opinion on both of them is very similar to what I think most of the Dice Tower's opinion was. I think they had various scores, but they all seem to have the same general opinion and mindset, which is sometimes it's amazing, sometimes it's not amazing, sometimes it's great. It's definitely an investment, and it gives you different degrees of experience. And they came in with various scores, but the same general opinion, which kind of matched my opinion of those games, which I think they're incredible potential experiences. For me, it's too much of a mental ask for the experience that I get out of it. I play a lot of campaign games. Some of them I'm like, this is amazing, and I love it and I'm into it, and others I'm like, this is too much energy and attention, and for me these games fell into the latter category. But they have very high ratings, so look into it because it may well be your next hidden gem, or it may be something you regret backing. Could go either way. Do your research and do your research well. From there we have Fromage from RTI, Road to Infamy. They've made obviously Canvas and a bunch of other games. They have Fromage announced as their next game coming in 2024, although I think it's crowdfunding in 2023, but landing on your table 2024. You're going to be cheesemakers in the early 20th century, making, aging, and selling your artisanal cheeses. We have over here, we have Lucky Duck Games, again, in another Lucky Duck things over here. They announced a deal to publish the Senjutsu Battle for Japan, along with, what's the name of the company? Oh my gosh, the name company is, Lucky Duck Games, with Stone Sword Games. Stone Sword Games, they had Senjutsu, they've had a few other games, but that was obviously the one that did very well for them, and Lucky Duck Games will be distributing that. Then we have over here a teaser for Kutna, Hora, the City of Silver from AEG. They're announcing a new asymmetrical city building Euro game that's going to be coming out. I don't think the art, I think this is interesting. So this is where I'm always curious how games will do based on a variety of factors. I think the combination of a name that is not immediately rolling off the tongue, and obviously it's based off a real thing, so there's a reason for it, but I think a name that does not immediately stick, combined with that cover, I don't think it's going to have the immediate appeal. Now, don't get me wrong, many games do phenomenally well despite not having an immediate appeal, but this is not a Lost Ruins of Arnak situation where a box like sticks out and you can see it and it calls you in. I'm intrigued, make no mistake, but I think the box art could have been something that pulled you in more, versus what I'm seeing right now. I was like, I'm gonna try because it's CGE and I want to try anything from CGE, but it's more the reputation of CGE that has me interested in this game. If it didn't have CGE on the box, I would never look at this twice. Like never, never, never. I'd be like Kutna, Hora and a giant silver coin in a box, and I'd immediately move on. Again, and I guess what I'm curious what's your opinion of that. Does this box, does it pull you in somehow in some way? I'm just curious. And again, to be very clear, plan on playing it, plan on trying it out, and I think well of it because it's a CGE game without having even played it. But I am curious about that initial perception and whether yours matches mine. Then we have over here, moving on to the next link, we have Undaunted Battle of Britain, another game that's been announced a while ago, but, you can now go ahead and pre-order it, so you can finally, I think Dice Tower just put out a review, so this is just hitting, and you can get your hands in it finally. We have, that is a Google dead page over there. We have over here, we have A&B Media, never mind that, that's just the news outlet link over here. We have Funko Games putting out a bunch of announcements of a variety of games, Star Trek Cryptic, we have Big Boss, we have Nucktats, we have Scream, a bunch of games based on some IPs, some not. Actually, I don't know if, maybe they're all IPs? I don't know what Nucktats is. I don't really know what that is. Knuckle tattoos, obviously, but I don't know if that's a thing. Either way, there's going to be Funko Games putting out a bunch more games, so you can check them out and all that. And that's what we have as far as the news and week in review. So let's go ahead and put that off to the side. And from there, we're going to move on to the topic of the week. And the topic of the week is a very small one, based on just something that I happen to be looking through a page, and I found it very compelling in terms of capturing my attention, which is the idea of, if you like this, you'll like that recommendations. Although I also particularly like, if you didn't like this, you might not like this. I like that idea as well, but that's a little harder to convince people to do. What I mean by that is I was recently on a page looking through a few games, and it was kind of like, it was saying, hey, here are a bunch of games, and some of them I had never heard of, and they're new titles, and I almost passed by them, but they had a little section on the page that said, if you like, these 5 games, this game might be a good fit for you. And they said if you like Cascadia and this and that, and I don't remember all the games, but I remember I was like, I love Cascadia. Let me try this out. Like, now I'm more interested in the game. Now, whether or not I get the game is a different story. Some I was more compelled, some not. But I like that kind of immediate capturing of information. Now, this is something I do try to do in my reviews, by the way. At the end of a review, I'm often like, well, you can also check out this and this that have similar elements to a degree. Something's thematic-based, something's mechanical-based, and I usually try to distinguish which one, because I don't want you buying a game that you think you're getting another mechanically similar game, and it just happens to be set in space, and that's the only similarity. So I try to distinguish the two. But I find that I like the idea in general of recommendation systems, of if you like this, you might like that. Or if you like those, you might like this. That kind of comparisonal information. I find it helps me be pulled into something that I otherwise might not be pulled in by. And again, for me, I think what would be even better is you can go the extra mile and push people away using that same information, which is harder. It's inherently harder instinctively to be like, I'm going to tell the customer, of like, if they don't like Cascadia, this might not be a game for them. That I'm trying to pull them in, not push them away. Although there is an aspect of reverse psychology involved in that as well, where by telling someone you might not like this game, they're almost like, well, I mean, maybe I will like the game. We're so used to conditioned to marketing that the counter marketing pitch almost works in and of itself, because you almost want to prove them wrong to a certain extent. You're like, well, I didn't love Cascadia, but maybe this game is different. They also have in the like section that if I like, I don't know, let's make up a game, El Grande, I'll like it. And yes, I like El Grande, and I didn't like Cascadia, so now there's a reason to get it and a reason not to get it. Let me try it out. Let me see where it is. And so that could be riskier, but I do like the counter sell as well. It's something I've talked about on Kickstarter pages in general, crowdfunding pages, the idea of that selling point that, this game is a good fit for you if you like, and it doesn't always have to be a game. Sometimes it can be mechanics. If you like direct confrontation and, tableau building and card drafting, this is probably a game you want to pay attention to. And versus if you don't like, asymmetric player powers, and if you don't like, I don't even know, like in 90 plus minute play times, you can throw things in that might throw people in and out. And first of all, there's a few things. It really gives people information about whether a game is a good fit for them, based on playtime, based on mechanics, based on similar games. It gives them that sense. But it also gives them a good sense of whether it's not a good fit for them. And this is an interesting thing as well, by the way, because let's forget games for a second. Let's focus on mechanics. if I say to you this game is a fit for you if you like shorter games, okay? So let me say, sorry. Let's say a game is going to be a 90 to 120 minute game, okay? So an hour and a half to 2 hours is the expected game length. I could pitch that as a pro or a con. I could pitch that as if you like games that are over 90 minutes. I could put that in the like category. Versus I could also put it in the dislike category. This game might not be a good fit for you if you don't like games that are over 90 minutes. It's the same exact piece of information being delivered, but the second one builds more trust. The second one says, well, you're actually trying to be informative about when it might not be for me. And if you're willing to tell me when it might not be for me, I trust you more. And so that's something to think about as well in terms of the way to deliver information and potential ways to gather trust, which in both cases is just giving information. In both cases, you are just helping someone make an informed choice about whether a game is or isn't good for them. And in both cases, I like the delivery and I think it's helpful. But one of them also has a kind of subtle reverse marketing spin attached to it, and the reverse marketing spin can engender trust. Obviously, the fact that it engenders trust now makes it a gimmick and a reverse marketing spin, which is a whole longer conversation about the wine in front of me is the wine in front of you, and there's no poison in this cup at all because I've built up an immunity system to it. It occurs to me if you don't know what I'm talking about, I sound really strange right now, and if you do know what I'm talking about, it's not a bad pivot. Anyways, moving on to the what I played, or let's move on to the topic of the week, to the 12x12 update and the what I played. 12x12 update is very minor. I've completed 12 plays of Tanares Adventures. You will not be getting a 12x12 review just yet because I want to dive into it a whole lot more. For me, there's two different categories here, and I've talked about this already, but just very short information. I undertook a 12x12 challenge for this year where I'm going to be playing at least 12 games, 12 different times, and it excludes anything small and light and easy. So I'm not going to be including, cockroach poker in that mix. It has to be a reasonably long game to have played. And then separately from that challenge, but very much in alignment with it, I'm also doing 12x12 reviews, which is where I feel I have fully explored a game, and fully is obviously a caveat. You can have it fully, but I feel I've explored a game enough that I want to put out a full, okay, great, here's my experience. So, for example, even using Tanares Adventures, I already put out a review on it, but I haven't finished the campaign. I want to at least finish the campaign before I put out an updated review. At that point, I may or may not put out an updated 12x12 review on Tanares. I don't know, but and that's not a factor, I guess. I've played Tanares I've played the competitive version of Arena of the Contest, but I kind of want to play it again because I haven't played that extensively. I played as a 4 versus 4, I think a 4 versus 4, and I played as a 2 versus 2 with 4 characters. You always do 4 characters, but I should play it as a 1 versus 1. I should also play the solo head-to-head mode, the PvP solo mode. I should play that as well. There's all these different ways I kind of want to experience and try the game before I do a 12x12 review. To me, the 12x12 reviews are about being comprehensive in my opinion, not specifically about 12 times, but I happen to require a minimum of 12 times, and then also being comprehensive in my opinion. But that's something I'm enjoying playing with. And it's interesting, because last year I did a challenge of I want to play a new game every single day. And then once a month I did a, conversation around that. And this month I decided to instead replace that with a 12x12, going deep instead of going wide, effectively. And the difference between the two is, I'm still playing a lot of new games. Maybe a little bit less than last year, but I'm still playing a lot of new games. But in terms of the content around it, in terms of the conversations and the value it adds, I'm having a lot more fun with this 12x12 concept, about the idea of going deep on a few games and then putting out an updated review, or in some cases a first-time review. In the Feast of Odin, and as a game I never reviewed, versus Lost News of Arnak, is a game I did review, and I'm reviewing it again now that I've explored it from those multiple angles and sides. But yeah, that's the short version of the 12x12 update, although there's actually another version, which is the next game that's been added to the 12x12 update is Massive Darkness. That's one that I've been diving into a lot as well. I'm diving into these giant, campaign and dungeon crawler games, and Massive Darkness is, I'm 90% certain, is going to get a full 12 plays and be involved in the 12x12 review. And that's when I'm going to be diving into multiple player counts at the campaign mode. So I've already done multiple player counts, although I haven't done all player counts. I'm not doing 6, but we'll see what I can get done. Then I want to dive into multiple character counts. So for instance, I haven't done 6 characters, but I do want to try that. I want to try 6 characters, not 6 players. 6 players would not be fun, although I recognize I can't say that. Maybe I'll do... No, I'm not going to play 6 players. Almost certainly not. But I'm also going to dive into it solo and non-solo and campaign mode, and diving into a bunch of the expansion content. Probably not all the expansion content, but probably all of the various roles. And then I'll do a full 12x12 review of that as well, probably close to the end of the year, because 12 plays won't take that long. 12x12 review might take a bit longer. But that's as far as small updates on the 12x12. Past that, we have what I played, and going into a few games that I'm selecting from the games I played this past week, starting with Santorini Riddle of the Sphinx. Had a chance to play this one online with both my daughter as well as solo, going through that one. I enjoyed it, with the caveat that I don't think I talked about this last week. Maybe I talked about it last week? I don't think so. Maybe I did. The Santorini Riddle of the Sphinx is one that I enjoyed, with the caveat that I enjoy base Santorini more. But I do want Riddle of the Sphinx. I do want to get it as well. I think it's a compelling puzzle that I prefer the competitive puzzle of Santorini Plain, but I think Riddle of the Sphinx gives you enough of a charm around a system that I already know that I want to get it and go through it. I enjoy it. Now, it is pricey. That's a different conversation. You can go through the campaign. Getting all the new stuff is definitely not a cheap endeavor. But overall, Santorini Riddle of the Sphinx was certainly enjoyable and one that I want to play. Although if you are new to Santorini, I would not recommend spending $100 getting all the Santorini stuff. I'd recommend finding a cheap copy for $15 somewhere and deciding if you like the game before you go a whole hog on the whole system. That's going to be Santorini. We have Turing Machine. I'll be doing a full review on Turing Machine at some point, but so far I'm not quite as invested as I was hoping it would be. It's been getting a lot of good reviews, and I was hoping that because of my interest in it and because of the good reviews, I'd be totally down for it. But it's a logic puzzle, and I like the logic puzzle, but it feels like it's also a very luck-based logic puzzle. And the system is very interesting and cool, but I hate the organizational stuff in between puzzles. And they have a solo mode and a non-solo mode. I like Turing Machine. I don't know if it sticks around. I think Pachamama, no longer called Pachamama, I think Tiwanuku is still my go-to logic puzzle game. I just like it the most from all the ones I've played. And then lastly, we have Love Letter, specifically the Archer Once You Go Blackmail edition. I haven't played Love Letter in years. Like, when Love Letter first came out, I played it sometime in that first year. I decided it was fun, but not a game that I was overly invested in, and I kind of just didn't play it again. And I just got the chance to play Archer Love Letter, and I decently enjoyed it. I don't know how much is different from the original Love Letter. It's been too long since I played it. The core concept, though, is definitely there. They have the guards, they have the high card, they have all these things. But I definitely enjoyed it more. It could be the people I was playing with it, because it could be time has gone on. It could be my expectations were lower compared to the first time. Everyone was going crazy about it, so I was expecting a really good game. But I enjoyed it. Now, I don't think it's amazing and incredible and all that, but I think for a game that is, packs a punch into 18 cards and you can travel with fairly easily and plays decently in different formats, different places, and all those things, I really enjoyed Archer Love Letter, and I thought it was a good experience. And again, that particular, I'm curious the rules differences, because that one interacts with the set aside card. The card you set aside every round, Archer Love Letter heavily interacts with it. Like, I think 3 or 4 cards interact with it, and so it definitely added to the dynamic experience. But overall, I enjoyed it. Overall, I very much enjoyed it. Which brings us to the week in review. The week in review, starting off with this past Saturday, where I reviewed Pioneer Rails, a roll and write game from, oh my gosh, Dronda Games. I gave it a 3.5. I liked it. It's not one of those that, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, this is incredible, but I very much enjoyed it. It's one of those that falls into the category of, I want it, and whether or not it stays over time, I don't know, but I do want the game. I do want to continue playing with it and going through it. Lots to explore there as far as how you build out your railroad system and how you try to optimize your score, and they have variable maps as well. Later on Saturday, I give a review to, or actually, technically the other way around, but I reviewed also on Saturday Dinosauria. This was a game that I was not a fan of. I was fairly obviously annoyed in my review of it, and it's actually interesting because it's interesting. Dice Tower, this is a separate conversation. Dice Tower got a bit of flack this past week for putting out a review in which they were clearly annoyed this past week, and it resulted in a conversation around the nature of what the responsibility of a reviewer is in terms of delivering information. Because I find myself not agreeing. I find myself of the opinion that I think, in general, and this is an opinion, okay, this is just my opinion, that's all it is, but I do think delivering critical information is an essential part of being a board game reviewer. I think doing so without over-the-top emotion is what I personally believe to be the better way of doing so. Which, to be very clear, is a critique of my Dinosauria review. I think I definitely had a degree of emotion in there that is, I could have given the exact same criticism without leaning into, like, just the amount of frustration. Now, this is a complicated subject, by the way. That's my belief. I believe that's more the ideal. And that my belief is based from the concept of doing as little harm as possible. Deliver the criticism. By all means, you're a reviewer. You have an obligation to your audience. You should deliver the criticism. You should not pull your punches. But you shouldn't pull your punches in the delivery of the facts. I believe perhaps you should pull your punches in the personal frustration that goes along with the facts, with the mindset of do no harm. The flip side, and the counter argument to that is, well, if I'm going to be excited about a game, if I'm going to allow my excitement to infuse a review, why should I not allow my disappointment to infuse a review? I hear that. I think I'm just sensitive to the harm being done potentially. And I think allowing you to see how excited I am about a game, I think the harm there is potentially you might go out and buy a game because you're infected with the excitement that I have. I don't know. It's complicated. It's complicated. It is complicated to think through the ethical responsibilities you have as far as how you do this. Where is the harm? Where is the thing? I mean, don't I have just as much of an obligation to not be over-the-top excited about something because you might buy a game that you wouldn't have liked, and had you paid attention to what I said, you may not have liked it, but the fact that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm loving this game, it's so good, it's so incredible, and I say a bunch of other words, but you kind of ignore them, you just pay attention to my tone, and then you go out and buy a game, I have a responsibility to you too. I don't have a good answer. Instinctively, I'm okay with excitement when I like something. And instinctively, I think over-the-top disappointment should be curtailed because you might be hurting the publisher and infusing your own extra into that. But I could argue against myself. I need to think about it. I need to think about this. And this might be the topic of the week next week. I need to think about it more. I don't like the fact that I'm not being consistent. I don't like it. We're going to come back to this. This is an unsettled discussion right now. Anyways, Dinosauria. Yes, I definitely do not like aspects of it, and I allowed my disappointment to infuse that review a bit, which arguably I should not, but I haven't yet decided. Moving on, we have Sunday. Sunday we had a few things. We had a Tanares review, a Tanares Adventures review going into that one. That was one of those fun reviews, and I didn't see that many comments pointing this out, but I've had this issue in the past where sometimes I'll go to a review. It's happened a few times. It's happened with Ragnarok, what's it called? Lords of Ragnarok. It happened with Tanares Adventures. It's happened with, I don't remember offhand. I don't remember. It's happened before. And what is it? It is when I'm reviewing a game and I'll spend like 8 minutes talking about the negatives, and then I'll spend like 3 minutes talking about the positives, and I'll be like 4.5 out of 5. I love this game. And people are like, wait a second, you just spent like 2.5 times as long talking about the negatives. What do you mean you love this game? That does happen. And I get that question sometimes. And I thought I would get on the Tanares Adventures, and I didn't, which I'm happy with. I'm happy I didn't get that question, but I'll give you the answer anyway, because the answer is, I like to go into the negatives as much as possible because I want you to have all the information, especially when I'm excited about something. Especially if a game is a 5 out of 5 to me. And Tanares Adventures is a 5 out of 5. But especially because it's a 5 out of 5, I want you to have every negative piece of information you can possibly have, and I'm going to share that because I'm about to say this is a 5 out of 5, and I want you to know everything. And so I try to go into it with as much possible information as I could. And most of those things don't bother me enough to impact my overall enjoyment of the experience. But there are things you should know, and I want you to know them because I'm excited and because I'm about to give it a 5 out of 5. So it's happened a few times where, especially in a more positive review, I spend more time talking about the negatives. And that's true with Tanares. But I love Tanares. I think it's incredible. I think it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to be spending hundreds of hours on that game. Well, I shouldn't say hundreds. Probably hundreds of hours, but at least 50, 60 hours on the game this year as I finish through a full campaign, and then whether I dive into another campaign this year or next year, that's a different conversation entirely. Later on Sunday, we had a Should You Back It for Elder Scrolls. Going into that one for Elder Scrolls from Chip Theory Games, overall consensus I have is that it's a great game, it'll hold its value, and that doesn't mean you should back it because it's very expensive and you can get other games too. But it will hold its value, and I do believe it's a great game. Whether or not it's a great game for you, I talked about it more in the Should You Back It, and trying to help you figure out what I would recommend based on your experience with Chip Theory Games or lack of experience with Chip Theory Games. On Monday we had 2 back and not to back. Just going over the games that I'm interested in. Definitely backing Elder Scrolls. Definitely backing Zombicide White Death. Probably should be considering whether I should or shouldn't back those things. Those games over there. We had Monday. Tuesday we had a Weirdwood Manor review. Going into that one, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely a lot of elements I liked. Also a bunch of elements that didn't capture my attention as much. Overall enjoyed it though. Weirdwood Manor. We had later on Tuesday we had a review for Forges of Ravenshire. Same idea. I really liked elements of that one. That one started off as a strong 4 to 5 for me. As I played it more and more, it shifted a bit down to a 3.5 out of 5. Just felt a little repetitive and samey in terms of what it's doing, but I do enjoy the dice placement puzzle of the game, a 3.5 out of 5. And then lastly on Tuesday we had a review for Endeavor Deep Sea. I give that a 4.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed that one. Very similar to its original, the original Endeavor Age of Sail, and Endeavor Deep Sea just takes that system, builds upon it. I'm excited to see the deluxe version. One thing that's interesting with Burnt Island Games is their prototypes are often very obviously prototypes. Like, we live in an age where sometimes you get a prototype and it's like, oh my gosh, this feels like it could be it could be an end product. And Brent Island Games doesn't have that. But when you see their end products are insane. So I'm very excited for the Endeavor Deep Sea, end product as well. But even as it stands, the prototype itself, ton of fun to play with. Really enjoyed my time with that one. Then on Wednesday we had Days of Future Past gameplay, Marvel United X-Men or X-Men United. We had Days of Future Past, possibly my favorite way to play through Marvel United or X-Men United as of right now. You have these Sentinels that are mimicking your moves. So if I move, punch, save, they are doing those things with the actions you put out. So when you put on an action, they are doing those actions in return, which leads to a fascinating puzzle of trying to control the board. How do you make sure the Sentinel copies you, but it doesn't actually hurt you when it's trying to copy you? Very fascinating puzzle. I really enjoyed it. Lots of fun to go through. We had a review for 5 more board game reviews. Just diving into a bunch of board game reviews. Quick roundup. I've been doing a bunch of these to clear out a bunch of older titles. I did another one. I have more of those coming up as well. Then on Wednesday, last thing on Wednesday, we had the League of Dungeoneers unboxing. This is one I felt bad about. I almost debated not putting it up, but the creator sent it to me, and so I feel like I should, because I don't know when I'm playing it, and I don't owe content. It's there's no commitment. I've not paid, but when I get sent stuff, I do try to cover it. In the case of the League of Dungeoneers, I'm definitely interested in the game, but it is, like, there are unboxings where I know more, and there are unboxings where my ramblings take charge, and this is an unboxing where I was very compelled, but there's only so much I can rave about numbers, and I'm just not overly excited about it. My goal isn't to rave, my goal is to talk about things, and so I was definitely less into this unboxing compared to some of my other unboxings, but overall the game looks incredibly intense. I do want to dive into it. I just need to watch a few. Like, they have a series over on YouTube. On his channel, he has a tutorial series. I'll be going through that and seeing if I could start diving into it. I'm definitely very interested, but also very intimidated by the 200 pages of rules that you don't need to read all 200 pages, but it still intimidates me. Then Thursday we had the player count is a lie. This is a video I did with Chris George from Room and Board, talking about player counts on boxes and when they are lying to you. When the player count on the box is not true, because it's like, it says it's a 2 to 6 player game, and if you play it at anything above 4 players, it is going to be a bad experience for everyone involved. So we went through 10 games each, with a little bit of crossover of times where we think the box is lying to you. Well, technically the box just has something printed on it. The publisher is lying to you. Well, that sounds bad. There's no malintent there. It's just best of intentions and bad end results. Something is not accurate. There we go. That's less controversial. Then Friday we had a Monster Hunter World buying guide. Effectively, this is a video I did together with a Steamforged team while they're here. I was like trying to think of like different videos and whatnot. I thought something would be useful, because something that I'm actually interested in myself and I was curious about is the Monster Hunter World experience has multiple core boxes and multiple expansions. And I was like, what's the best way to tackle this experience? And so I asked Jamie and Matt to go through their favorite content from the game in terms of what core box would you start with, what expansions would you mix in, and how they all integrate with your core Monster Hunter World experience. So that's Friday's video. That was later on. That was Friday's first video. Later on Friday, we did another gameplay for Legacy of You. This is the third and last gameplay that will be on the Board Game Co channel. The rest of the gameplays will be over on Camp Co-op. Something I'm trying to balance. And I'm curious about your opinion here, because this affects a bunch of things. It affects Legacy of You, although I guess not, because I already made a decision there. But it affects Massive Darkness and maybe other things, but like, I hope to be playing through the Massive Darkness campaign, and I hope to film it. I want to go through it and do the whole thing, probably playing it solo, because it makes it easier to do filming content and to be consistent with it. But I wanted to go through the entire thing and film it all, so there's a whole filmed, 12 episode arc of Massive Darkness. I don't actually know how long the campaign is. But my question for you is, I don't want to flood this channel with content. I mean, I already flood this channel with content. I don't want to flood the channel with more content. And so when I put out a bunch of gameplays, what's the game plan? Do I put out one extra video a week, and now it's going to take 3 months to go through something like Massive Darkness? Like, do you want do you want me to pick a campaign game or something, and then to have one episode a week that goes up on this channel while I'm playing through a campaign game? Is that something you'd want to see? Or alternatively, should I throw that over on Camp Co-op, where I anyways play through campaign games with Professor Meg, and sure, she's sometimes plays Final Girl alone, I'll play other games alone sometime as well. Is that, like, better? What's the better way as far as engaging with the campaign game? And the third option as well, I've thought of it, and I don't know what I'll do, is the third option is I throw on, like, occasional episodes over on the main channel, and then I put others over on Patreon or behind, YouTube membership and all that. That way, the people who really do want to see it, can see it, but they do have to be a Patreon or membership, so it could benefit me there, but also, historically, those haven't worked as well to do it that way. So, different options. I'm curious what your opinion is. My overall goal, I guess, is I want to do a bit more playthrough content. I've been enjoying doing Legacy of You, and I want to do a bit more, and I'm just curious where to put it in a way that best gets the people's attention who want to see it, but doesn't crowd a channel that is already crowded with too many videos. And that is basically what we had for Friday, which means today we have a few things going up. We have basically 2 videos going up later today. The 6 button shy games I did not keep, and the 7 button shy games I love. And yes, I know that I said I was doing that video like, 2 weeks ago, but then I bumped them around to make room for other videos. Hopefully that won't happen this week, we'll see. But those will hopefully be going up later today. As far as videos going up next week, we'll have a few things. I will have a review for Massive Darkness, not the campaign. I've not played the campaign yet, but I'll have a review for Massive Darkness. Lots of pros and cons, you can check out that video as well. Past that, I'll have a review for Seismic, which I said I'll have. I'll have a conversation around reviews in general. There's going to be hopefully a video going up later this week that's just about the nature of reviews and the limitations of being a board game reviewer. You can check out that video as well. It's interesting. It's not a defensive or offensive video. It's something that I think viewers should know. I've talked about it in the past in other content, but I decided to do another video on the subject as well, so that should be going up later this week. And finally, we have the games on the table. For the games on the table, we have a few things I hope to be diving into. I hope to be diving into the Castle of Burgundy, specifically this version, because I want to be doing my 12x12 challenge, and I have not played the Vineyards expansion yet, so I want to do that. I also have not played with the deluxe castles and stuff, so I want to do that over here and see how this game plays. We have Massive Darkness 2, like I said already. I hope to dive into the campaign. I don't know if we'll be starting this week. I'm actually going to be at Gamma this week, which is going to make it a little harder to start off that video, but start off the campaign, but I might. Maybe I'll get one play in, I don't know. And then lastly, we have Mother of Frankenstein. I hope to be diving into this one. This is like kind of an escape room journey experience, and I'd love to play that as well. And that is everything I have for the week in review. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I appreciate all of you being here, and as always, I hope you have a good one.